The state of Connecticut and much of the country in mourning tonight. Former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman has died at the age of 82. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Lieberman's family released a statement this afternoon telling the world he passed away in New York City from complications he suffered from a fall. Just weeks ago, he was back here in his home state speaking at Quinnipiac University.
Lieberman spent decades in public office, including 24 years representing the Constitution State in Congress, and even more before that as Attorney General. Tonight, we want to share more about his life and legacy. Call him Connecticut's middleman, a strong politician who knew how to work the crowd and get in the good graces of those on both sides of the aisle. Joe Lieberman will always be known as one of Connecticut's fiercest leaders and a transformative figure in American politics. Born and raised in his native Stamford, Lieberman rose through the ranks, serving in the state Senate and as Connecticut's 21st Attorney General under then-Governor William O'Neill. Then, in the late 80s, he took on a new endeavor, serving Connecticut in our nation's capital. Lieberman would defeat former Governor and Republican Senator Lowell Weicker to turn that Senate seat blue again and become the first Orthodox Jew to serve in the U.S. Senate. From the outset, Lieberman worked the middle of the aisle, supporting issues raised by both Democrats and Republicans, a bipartisan nature that would translate much stronger later on in his political career. Then, the big news that rocked the state: Joe Lieberman was chosen as Al Gore's running mate in the 2000 presidential election, an election that proved to be controversial and ultimately resulted in George W. Bush's first of two terms, following a Florida recount overseen by the U.S. Supreme Court. Lieberman himself went a step further, throwing his hat into the presidential ring in the next election while continuing to serve in the Senate. In 2006, he would face a challenge from businessman Ned Lamont for that Senate seat, an election that proved pivotal in Lieberman's political career. His opposition to affirmative action, other viewpoints skewing more conservative, and his support for the Iraq War. These factors and more turning Lieberman from a strong Democratic force into an independent politician. He would still secure another term in office, his final one. In 2012, the Senate seat flipped blue once again when Chris Murphy was elected to serve in Washington.
At the end of this term, I will have served 24 years in the U.S. Senate and 40 years in elective office. By my count, I've run at least 15 full-fledged campaigns, and that's just in Connecticut, not counting the national campaigns I was involved in. So, for me, it is time for another season and another purpose under heaven.
A loving husband and father, a committed leader for his state, a man of faith, Connecticut will remember the life and lasting legacy of Joe Lieberman.
And the family of Joe Lieberman releasing details tonight on the plans to lay him to rest. They say the senator's funeral will be held this Friday, March 29th at the congregation Agdudas Shalom in his hometown of Stamford. They also say another memorial service is being planned, but information on that has not been released as of this hour. Connecticut's news station is still gathering reflections and reactions to the death of Joe Lieberman. Our coverage continues tonight and beyond, on air, online, and on demand at Fox 61+.